Hello, Raleigh. This is citizen reporter Robert Courts coming to you from the Your Backyard News Network with my first broadcast of the year 2025. And I'm so excited to have one of YBY's best friends and Raleigh's greatest city councilor, Christina Jones. Councilmember Jones, thank you for joining me once again.
Hello, Happy New Year. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm super excited to have you once again at the helm of District E. Um, and all your leadership and citizen engagement really sets District E apart from the other districts in an important way. So thank you once again for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to have our discussion today.
Well, as we've been talking in our off time together, and what you've been promoting throughout District D is the importance of the budgeting process in our city government. So I'd like to take a few minutes today to dive in a little deeper.
Most definitely. It's our value set is our budget. And I really hope that residents who see this and who are paying attention to council and paying more attention as we go forward are understand that the budget is really where everything happens. And so this next season that we're walking into come next week is really a time to get engaged, to get involved so that there's constant just learning and we can all really create a budget that works for everyone.
Right. Well, it is the blueprint. It is also the heartbeat of a fair and competent city government. So I appreciate it. Councilmember Jones, I've had the pleasure of attending two of the city's listening sessions so far. And I would like to start by saying, as engagement process goes, this has been one of their better efforts. I've really learned a lot and had the chance to speak. But could you tell us a little bit about what a citizen can expect in one of these budget listening sessions?
Sure. So our budget listening sessions began back in 2023. So we did them in October of 2023. And then this year, due to the election happening, they moved that back to starting in December. And that's when we did the citywide. So the ones that you attended were either the virtual one or they had an in-person one at, I forget which brewery or which brewery, but it was fun to just get everyone involved. And I saw the pictures from there. So it's very, very well attended, which is a stark contrast to what we did the last time. In our last sessions, we had very few engagement, but it was our first time, having it be our first time and not really knowing what people wanted to know and what they wanted to learn. I do see this so far as being leaps and bounds ahead of where we were last year, and we are only going to get better. So is it perfect? Probably not. I'm sure there are things that residents want to see that they didn't know to ask for last year, and now next year we'll be better at it. But I'm really proud of the work that our staff has done because they're amazing. So I'm glad you've been able to attend. I haven't yet. Mine will come up on January 8th, and that's District E's. And so this January session is going to focus on the districts. December focused on the at-large community. We took a break, did not want to interfere with anyone's Christmas or New Year's, and now we're walking into the district side for January.
Right. I understand that there's going to be each district has a chance to hold their a listening session in their district, and yours is, I believe, Wednesday the 8th.
Yes, it's Wednesday the 8th at Laurel Hills Community Center. It'll start at 6 o'clock and it'll run until about 7:30.
Well, isn't this when you typically hold your community engagement session?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. Typically, for the last 2 years, I've held my community meetings on the second Wednesday of every month. And just so happens to coincide with this meeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to put my community meeting at our budget session because I think it's that important. I think that everything we talk about in January should be budget related and should be focused on the needs and concerns of District E residents. So we will be meeting at Laurel Hills Community Center from 6 to 7:30 on January 8th so that I can make sure that those who already attend my meetings are also coming to our budget sessions where their voice can be heard.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about what a citizen can expect at one of these listening sessions?
Yes. So it's an overview of the budget. It's really about wants and needs, talking about telling them what you want to see happen. And it's really on the big scale. So if you're going there to look and find out what internal audits spent last year, that's pretty much not what you're going to see here. We want to talk about big goals because we're here for you. The city at large is here for residents. So if we don't know what you want to see in the budget, we can't begin to bake that into it. So less about the specifics and more general, this is where I want to see our city go. But I do challenge and push residents to ask the specific questions because you can receive answers to it, probably just not that night. So if you have a more in-depth question that needs more review, we have budget officers there who will be able to contact you further after that meeting to really dive deep into what you want to ask about that's outside of their agenda.
To that end, the listening session does a great job of introducing the budget dashboard, which is a way for citizens to find what they're looking for within the budget, dive deeper. And it really is a fascinating tool that I've only begun to investigate, but they've done a really good job of making that dashboard an informational and educational tool.
And that's amazing because that's something that we did discuss over the last 2 years that I've been in office. We've been asking questions that other cities have this dashboard able so that residents can really see where does the money go and how does it affect what needs to be taken away and what if we want to add things and whatnot. And so I'm really excited to see that that's being added to our docket of tools for residents to utilize.
Now, the listening sessions is only the first part of the budgeting process. Once they go through this, all of the thoughts and comments and questions will be passed to the council and to the city management. And then the next step is the city management to introduce the budget to you guys as the council. Is that correct?
It is. And it gets introduced for discussion in February. And then in February, we assign, well, we've already assigned it, but once a month for February, March, April, May, we'll have different departments that come and do a presentation. And what I have found very interesting over the last 2 cycles that I've been part of the budgeting process is that we don't get to decide what those departments are. So typically we see our enterprise funds. And so that's going to be your stormwater, your trash, your water. We have seen in the past transit. Last year we saw our transportation department. We've seen parks. But and I understand we can't sit there. We have over 30 departments. So for us as a council to see every single one is a little bit time consuming. And for a part-time council, that's not really going to happen.
Right.
But what I have asked both with Mayor Cowell and our city manager's office is, can we be part of the decision-making process to see which departments we do see? The last 2 years, our highest ticketed item, our highest budgeted item outside of water, which is an enterprise fund, so it's got its own money, but that has a bigger budget, is our police force. And I am very keen to making sure they are paid properly, but I also want to understand if they're asking for an increase, what is that for? And so I can better explain that to residents and say, this is why this department, which is our biggest budgeted item, needs more money. Those are things that people ask that I want to be able to have the answer to. So I hope that this year, walking into this, we can have a better participation from the entirety of council as to which departments we see, but that is yet to be released.
Well, Councilmember Jones, even beyond the fact that there is a limited amount that the city management can present to you in a timely fashion, how can we, the citizens, ensure that those things that are important to us, which may not be presented to you, is passed along or is investigated by you with the city management?
Definitely. And I love this because it speaks to what I hold true to my heart, and it's about community engagement. And while I think that there's responsibility from counselors to make sure that we are accessible, this is my favorite part because now I get to turn on residents and say, hey, this is for you to now talk to us. So I really, really hope that this year we can activate that side of residents who really want to know, because I know that it's not that people don't care. People really care, but they don't know what to care about. So really, if there's something you're passionate about, is it invasive species? Is it our community engagement? Is it buses? I don't know. If that's it, and you go to your session and maybe it's not enough information for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to your counselors. I would start with your district counselor. So if you're in District E, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let's have that conversation. But I'm not your only answer. There are 8 people on council. And while we are divided into districts, most of us don't assume that boundary line when we talk to residents. So please don't ever hesitate. But for District E specifically, you've got me, but you also have 2 at-large counselors and you have a mayor, because the 3 of them are responsible for the entire city. So even if you're a little nervous to talk to, District A's counselor or District B's counselor, you have 2 at-large counselors and a mayor who are ready and really excited to hear your thoughts and concerns and ideas. So I would hope that starting this session, starting in January, people took that and said, you know what, I'm going to have a conversation and a relationship with those who represent me, because that's what we're here for.
Well, I think that's fantastic. I'm constantly reminding fellow citizens that you're represented by 4. It doesn't just rest on the shoulders of your district counselor. The other 3, at large and mayor, are here for you, and they should be contacted. So as you reach out to one, it's often best to reach out to 4 at the same time.
Definitely. And it's kind of close to what we've talked about before, which is that magic number 5, because 5 things pass in council. And if you talk to the ones who are directly related to you, so your district, your at-large, and your mayor, you got 4 people right there. So you can really get a good understanding of what's going to happen on council, as long as you're having that conversation back and forth.
Well, just a couple more questions in the time we have. So we have the listening sessions. You have the opportunity to speak with the city management throughout like February, March, and April. Before then, hopefully the constituents are reaching out to our counselors with all those things that are important and getting the questions we want answered. How do we end the process? At what point is there a final draft delivered to the council for your review and approval?
Sure. So we open that conversation, like I said, in February. We'll have these budget work sessions monthly at council. And then towards the end of May, usually that second meeting, so the second Tuesday in May, is when they will give us this big binder, like 450 pages, and they'll hand it and be like, here's your budget. And we have until the last day in June to approve or deny the budget. But if it is denied, then it has to go back. So it needs to be finished by state law by June 30th. In the last 2 years, as I've been part of this process, we've typically taken about 2 weeks. So from that second meeting in May, it usually takes 2 weeks, and then we do the vote for the budget. I find that a little small of a window,
right?
Because it's really hard to read 450 pages and understand and digest all that information in 2 weeks. So, like, what I've begun doing is relying on those departments. I've reached out to the fire department and said, please, you guys go through it. I'm going to sit with you and you guys tell me what you see and let's talk about it. And so I've sat down with firefighters in the union and said, hey, what are your concerns, so that I can better uplift that. And I can do that throughout different departments that have employees and citizens that want to have that conversation. But I'm more than willing, and really welcome the opportunity to do that with residents as well. It's not just about city staff. I would love to sit down. I had some conversations last year with residents who, while we may not always agree on the purpose of a budget and all that, but I want to hear them because I want to be able to uplift that so we get your questions answered. So please, don't hesitate. After that budget is released, that second Tuesday in May, again, make those circles, reach back out if you have questions. Hey, make sure to ask this, make sure to highlight this. And that's what our job is.
So it seems to me that it starts with this slow level of input, right? And then it comes back to you with the citizens' engaged questions and comments. But toward the end there, it's going almost at hyper speed. Once it's delivered, there really is only a matter of weeks, maybe, till you have to vote. And then as a council, it's either a yes or no vote, right? There's not a lot of time in June to modify it.
No. And I tend to think that even right now, once it's written, that it's pretty much baked. It's pretty much baked. I have not seen much that has altered. It's been very small things that change. So if you're looking to see that we take away funding from stormwater and put it towards housing affordability, that's not going to happen. That's not the place right now. In the early portions of that is for us to tell them where we'd like them to direct their research in order to give us a budget. But if you wait until May, there's not really much we can do. What we have, the tools that we do have, are budget notes. And in my first budget, I did do a budget note for crossing guards, because our school system reached out and said, hey, Raleigh's only paying $11 an hour for that. And so we were able to bump it up through a budget note to a little over $15 an hour a few years ago. But those are the kinds of things that can be changed, not monumental shifts in,
Right.
okay, we're not going to move $8 million from transit to, I pick on internal audit a lot but we're not going to do that. We're not going to switch them from those two departments at that late of a stage.
So citizen input is paramount, that it gets done sooner rather than later. And these listening sessions will wrap up in a couple weeks. And any last words or advice or message for the citizens of Raleigh?
I think one of the really cool things that we noticed last year, because it was our first year doing participatory budgeting and these sessions. And what participatory budgeting is we, in our budget, allocated $200,000 to every district. And we said, all right, here's your money. Tell us what you want to do with it. What do you want to do? And when we got those results last year, we got one that said, in every single district, everyone wanted sidewalks. And we were like, whoa. Now, $200,000 is not going to get you but a slab of a sidewalk. So we were not able to use the funds for that. But what I'm looking for as I go into this next budget cycle is to say, hey, we heard from every single district that what they want is sidewalks. So how are we going to prioritize that in our budgeting overall for the next year? So I know it's delayed. Municipal government is slow, I understand, but that's something that we didn't even know to ask. We didn't ask, do you want a sidewalk? This is what people said. And so it's maybe a few years delayed, but we are going to I'm going to be looking for that in this budget to see how we're answering that request.
Well, it really speaks to the importance of having an engaged citizenry who keeps their eye on the budget, not just during the December, January listening sessions, but as a constant heartbeat and a constant monitoring, so that year after year after year, engaging with council members like you, Christina Jones, that we can continue to shape this very important document for Raleigh.
It's crucial because last year, as I'm sure many residents remember, we raised taxes, and we raised it by a pretty significant amount after the county did. Those were things that we did not have deep conversations about. We did not sit there and say, okay, what is this impact going to be? It was very, very light because it was already baked. And so when in September, August, when we're starting to hear from residents, oh my gosh, the taxes went up. They went up so dramatic. Yeah, they did. And I wish that we had that opportunity to get that feedback prior to. But what that's going to take is really sparking the interest of the people to come out during those and ask those really tough questions right from the beginning.
Well, Councilmember Jones, thank you for joining me today. I want to remind all of Raleigh, not only Councilmember Jones, but you, if you're not in District D, you have your own district representative, you have 2 at large, and you have the mayor. They all need to hear from you. They all need to know what's top of your mind so that they can have an impact and help us build the city budget, nay, the blueprint of what Raleigh's going to be today and tomorrow.
Definitely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much.
Raleigh, let's wave them out. Councilmember Jones, Raleigh, remember, everything you need is in your backyard.